The alien girl woke up expecting pain. She expected darkness, blood, and the sharp end of a human weapon. That was how battles always ended. If humans captured you, they killed you. Everyone in the galaxy knew that. Humans were not famous for mercy. They were famous for survival. But when her eyes opened, she was still alive, breathing steady air inside a clean metal room. White lights glowed softly above her, not harsh or blinding. Her wounds were sealed, treated with care she did not recognize. That alone made fear crawl through her mind. Death would have been easier to understand. She tried to move, expecting restraints cutting into her limbs. Instead, she found smooth bands holding her gently in place, firm but not painful. A transparent barrier stood between her and the rest of the room. She could see outside it, humans walking calmly, their movements slow and controlled. No shouting. No celebration. No anger. That was wrong. Humans were supposed to roar after battle. These ones barely looked at her, yet she could feel their attention like a weight pressing on her chest. Her memory returned in broken pieces. The failed raid. The human outpost that looked weak on scanners. The sudden counterattack that came too fast, too precise. Her squad had fallen in seconds. She remembered raising her weapon, then nothing. She lowered her gaze and saw clean fabric wrapped around her body instead of chains. Someone had taken time to save her life. That thought scared her more than any torture ever could. She studied the room carefully. No weapons in sight. No guards standing close. Only cameras hidden in the walls and a single door that remained closed. The air smelled neutral, controlled. This was not a prison. It was a place designed for observation. Her breathing slowed as understanding began to form, and with it came a deeper fear. Predators did not always kill their prey immediately. Sometimes they waited. A soft sound came from the door as it opened. A human entered, wearing a plain uniform with no visible rank. He did not rush. He did not glare at her. He simply stood there, hands behind his back, eyes calm and focused. When he spoke, his voice was even, almost polite. He told her to stay still and said her injuries were healing well. There was no threat in his tone. No promise of pain. That made his words feel sharper than a blade. She wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but fear locked her voice away. Humans were known for their cruelty in stories told across the stars, yet this one looked like a scientist studying a rare creature, not an enemy. He checked a small device, nodded to himself, and left without another word. The door closed softly behind him, sealing the silence again. Time passed in a way she could not measure. Lights dimmed and brightened. Food appeared through a small opening, carefully prepared to match her biology. They knew what she was. They had studied her species. Every detail told her the same terrible truth: this was not a mistake. She was alive because they wanted her alive. Her thoughts raced. Was she a hostage? A test subject? A message? None of those answers felt right. Humans did not waste effort without purpose. That was something her people had learned the hard way. She pressed her hand against the barrier, half expecting pain, but it remained cool and solid. Beyond it, she saw humans watching data screens, occasionally glancing in her direction. Not with hatred. With patience. That patience broke her more than violence ever could. She remembered the lessons drilled into her since birth: never let a human capture you alive. If it happens, your fate is sealed. Yet here she was, breathing, thinking, waiting. The longer she lived, the more she understood that death had not been avoided. It had only been delayed. Finally, when the door opened again, more humans entered. They stood at a distance, speaking quietly among themselves. One of them looked directly at her, and in his eyes she saw something that made her heart pound: certainty. Whatever plan they had, it was already in motion. She was not the center of it. She was a piece. As the door closed once more, a single thought echoed in her mind, louder than any alarm. Humans did not spare her life out of mercy. They spared it because her survival served a purpose. And somewhere beyond this room, something far worse than death was waiting to begin. The alien girl did not know how long she had been awake this time because the room never truly slept. The lights softened and brightened in slow cycles meant to calm, not confuse. Her body felt stronger now, healed enough to move without pain. That alone told her the humans were not rushing anything, they were waiting. She stood when the barrier faded away without warning. No alarms sounded, no weapons appeared. The silence was intentional. A human waited on the other side of the room, tall, still, unreadable. He did not step forward, he did not order her to kneel, he simply watched as if this moment had been expected for a long time. She took a slow step forward, then another. Her instincts screamed at her to attack, to run, to do something, but she did nothing because humans were dangerous when they were calm. She had learned that lesson too late on the battlefield. Now she carried it like a scar in her mind. Her voice felt weak when she finally spoke, not because of fear alone, but because the question itself carried weight across her species. No alien asked this, and lived to remember it. Still the words escaped her before she could stop them. Why did you not kill me? The human did not answer immediately. He looked at her, as if measuring the space between her fear and his truth. Other humans stood farther back, watching screens, listening, breathing evenly. This was not an interrogation, this was a test, and she had just stepped into it. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, controlled, almost gentle. You were not meant to die today. The words struck harder than any threat. She felt her chest tighten because death had always been simple. Alive was complicated. Alive meant intention. She demanded an explanation, her tone sharper now. Why keep an enemy alive? Why heal me, feed me, watch me? The human tilted his head slightly, a gesture she had seen in recordings when humans considered something obvious. He said, killing ends information, living creates it. That answer chilled her. She understood then that her survival was not mercy but design. Humans did not see her as a person, or even a prisoner. She was a source, a signal, a connection. She felt exposed in a way no weapon could achieve. She backed away slowly, her eyes scanning the room. Everything suddenly felt closer, the walls, the ceiling, the air itself. Humans did not rush to stop her, they allowed the fear to grow because fear revealed truth. Her breathing quickened, and she realized they were studying even that. Another human stepped forward, this one older, his expression heavy with experience. He spoke not to threaten but to clarify. You sent a signal before your capture, it reached your people, they will respond. He paused, letting the meaning sink in. You are the reason they will come. The alien girl understood then, and the realization hollowed her from the inside. She was not bait because she was weak, she was bait because she was valuable. Her rank, her knowledge, her identity, all of it mattered, more alive than dead. She whispered a single word, bait. The humans did not deny it. Silence was confirmation enough. The older human continued, we do not hunt blindly, we let our enemies reveal themselves. You are not suffering, you are participating. Anger flared through her. Fear, you are using me, she said. Her voice shook, but her eyes held his. The human nodded without shame. Yes, because war is not about who dies first, it is about who understands last. That sentence echoed in her mind long after the human stepped back and the barrier returned. She was alone again, but the room felt smaller now, tighter. The truth pressed in from every side. Her people were coming, and the humans wanted them to come. That was the real weapon, not ships, not guns, but patience sharpened into a blade. She sat slowly, her thoughts racing through possibilities, escape, sabotage, death. None of them mattered. Humans had already won the moment they chose not to kill her. She finally understood why their species terrified the galaxy. They did not need cruelty, they needed time. As the lights dimmed once more, a final realization settled deep inside her. The question she asked had changed everything, not because of the answer but because of what it revealed. Humans were not afraid of letting enemies live, they were afraid of letting them go unaware. And she was about to become the message they sent back to the stars. The alien girl began to notice patterns. Once fear stopped screaming inside her mind, humans repeated nothing by accident. Every light change, every pause, every movement followed purpose. She was allowed to walk inside a larger section of the facility now, never alone yet never restrained. Humans stayed at a distance, letting her believe she had freedom. That belief itself felt carefully planted. She watched them work. Humans spoke less than any species she had studied, yet when they did, every word carried weight. Commands were short, calm, and final. There was no panic even when alerts flickered briefly on distant screens. She realized then that humans did not react to danger, they expected it. Long before an enemy moved, humans had already imagined the outcome. Through observation windows she saw ships, not large, not impressive, but quiet. Their surfaces absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Alien warships were designed to be seen, to inspire fear. Human ships looked like shadows shaped into metal. That contrast told her everything. She understood that humans did not want to be admired, they wanted to be underestimated. A human analyst explained nothing directly, yet answers appeared in fragments through casual conversation. Humans studied history deeply, not just their own but that of others. They recorded patterns of pride, aggression, fear, and desperation. Aliens charged, humans waited. Aliens announced, humans prepared. That difference was the reason so many civilizations had fallen without understanding how. The alien girl remembered her own people. Their war doctrine was simple: strike hard, overwhelm fast, and celebrate victory. Humans ignored celebration, they measured silence instead. Victory for them was not destruction but control. Control of space, control of timing, control of information. She realized now why her capture had been clean, efficient, and quiet. It was never meant to be noticed. She was shown star maps slowly over several cycles. Each time a new detail appeared: a fleet route, a relay station, a response time. Humans did not explain, they let her connect the meaning herself. She saw how her distress signal aligned perfectly with projected enemy movement, how her people would rush forward, angry, desperate, blind. That was the moment she understood humans had not captured her during battle, they had selected her long before. The first shot was fired. Fear returned heavier than before because it came with clarity. Humans were not improvising, they were executing a design refined over generations. Every war they fought made them better, not stronger but smarter. They adapted faster than any species because they treated conflict as study, not emotion. She asked once why humans did not simply destroy enemies from afar. The human beside her answered without hesitation: because fear spreads faster than fire and memory lasts longer than ruins. The sentence stayed with her. She realized humans wanted survivors. Survivors told stories. Stories changed behavior. That was how humans won wars. They made sure the enemy remembered. The alien girl felt smaller, not in body but in importance. She was a variable, not an individual. Her feelings, her pain, her hope, none of it mattered to the plan. Yet she also realized something else: humans were careful with variables. They protected them, maintained them, ensured they reached the right moment. That was why she still lived. When an alert finally sounded, it was not loud, not dramatic, it was soft, controlled, almost respectful. Humans moved with purpose. Screens shifted, showing distant stars where her people entered the system, exactly where humans predicted. No celebration, no tension, only confirmation. The plan was unfolding perfectly. She felt a strange pull inside her chest, not loyalty, not fear, but understanding. She was witnessing warfare at a level her species had never reached. Humans did not fight to win battles, they fought to end future ones. That was why they seemed merciful, that was why they were terrifying. As she watched human ships fade from sensors only to reappear in perfect positions, she realized something irreversible. Humanity did not need to announce dominance, they allowed others to discover it themselves. Too late to stop it. The alien girl finally understood the truth behind her survival. Humans did not fight like aliens because aliens fought wars, humans fought consequences. The moment the alien fleet entered the system, the humans did nothing. That silence confused her more than any alarm could have. Her people were trained to respond immediately to threats, to show strength before weakness could be seen. Yet the human command center remained calm, almost quiet. Screens adjusted, data flowed, and voices stayed low, as if nothing unusual was happening. This was not delay, this was confidence. The alien girl stood behind the observation barrier, watching star maps shift slowly. Human vessels remained hidden, their signals masked, their positions unknown. Even now, as enemy ships crossed into controlled space, humans allowed them to move freely. That choice felt deliberate, like a door left open on purpose. She felt the weight of understanding settle deeper in her chest. The trap was not about force, it was about permission. Humans tracked everything without being seen. She watched lines appear on screens showing communication paths, energy output, weapon readiness, and response patterns. The humans did not stare at the enemy ships, they watched the empty space between them, measuring timing, hesitation, and alignment. This was where the real battle happened, long before weapons fired. A human commander spoke softly, confirming predicted behavior. The alien fleet split into familiar formations, aggressive, confident, designed to overwhelm static defenses. The alien girl recognized the pattern instantly. She had trained for it since youth, yet seeing it now from the outside made it feel childish, predictable. Humans were not surprised, they were relieved. The enemy was doing exactly what was expected. Her distress signal pulsed again, automatically relayed through human systems, unchanged, unblocked, perfect. The humans allowed it because it was the final thread pulling her people forward. She realized then that her voice, her fear, her survival were all tools carefully preserved. Her people believed they were rescuing her. They did not understand they were walking into a lesson. Human ships activated one by one without noise or flare. They did not charge forward, they adjusted position, closed angles, and sealed escape routes invisibly. The alien girl felt her breath slow as realization struck. Humans were not surrounding the fleet, they were shaping the battlefield. It was like watching a net tighten slowly without the fish noticing the pressure. No dramatic command was given, no countdown echoed through the room. The human commander simply said, "Now we wait." Those words carried more weight than any battle cry. Waiting was not weakness, waiting was control. Time stretched, her people advanced deeper, their confidence growing with every second of silence. They believed the humans were retreating or afraid. They transmitted victory messages before firing a single shot. The alien girl felt something break inside her as she understood what would follow. Humans let enemies believe in success because hope made mistakes faster and bigger. The first human strike did not look like an attack. Systems failed across the alien fleet, communications died, engines stalled, formations collapsed, chaos spread instantly because nothing made sense. Ships did not explode, they drifted powerless, trapped by invisible limits. Panic followed because panic always followed confusion. The alien girl watched her species unravel in seconds. She saw captains shouting orders that never reached crews, weapons powered up too late, targeting systems blind. Humans remained distant, untouchable shadows controlling space itself. This was not battle, this was demonstration. She wanted to scream, to warn them, to beg humans to stop, but the words died in her throat. Humans were not cruel, they were precise. They disabled, not destroyed. They left ships intact and crews alive. The message was not death, it was helplessness. A human analyst spoke quietly, confirming success rates and containment zones. The tone was not proud, it was routine. This was not revenge, this was procedure. The alien girl realized humans had run this scenario countless times before, adjusting, refining, perfecting it across wars no one remembered. As the alien fleet fell silent, one human looked at her, not with anger but with something close to respect. He said softly, "They will live and they will remember." That sentence was the true weapon. She finally understood that the trap was never meant to close quickly, it was meant to be seen, felt, and survived. The system fell still. Human ships revealed themselves only after victory was assured, not to threaten, but to be seen. The alien girl sank to her knees, knowing the war was already over, not because her people had lost ships, but because they had lost certainty. Humans had taught them fear, and fear would travel faster than any fleet back home. The silence after the collapse of the alien fleet felt heavier than the battle itself. Ships drifted across the system, powerless, their crews alive but terrified. The alien girl watched from the command level as human officers moved with steady purpose. There was no shouting, no celebration, no relief. This outcome had never been in doubt. That certainty frightened her more than destruction ever could. Her people had come as hunters, confident in strength, numbers, and tradition. They believed humans would react with fear or fury. Instead, humans had waited until every escape path was sealed. The alien fleet now existed inside a cage they could not see but could feel. Humans had not fired to kill, they had fired to control. Human vessels emerged fully now, not in attack formation but in positions of dominance, blocking lanes, surrounding disabled ships, and securing space. The design was clear. Humans wanted the enemy to look out and see there was nowhere left to go. Panic spread across the alien channels, crews calling for orders that no longer made sense. The hunters were now prey. The alien girl was allowed closer to the main display. The humans did not hide the outcome from her, they wanted her to see it all. They wanted understanding to form without explanation. She watched as human teams boarded select ships, not with weapons raised but with calm efficiency. They secured control points, stabilized reactors, and treated injured aliens. The contrast shattered everything she believed about warfare. She heard reports coming in from captured crews, fear, confusion, disbelief, the same questions repeated. Why are they not killing us? Why are they helping us? The alien girl closed her eyes, knowing the answer. Humans were writing memory, not history. They were shaping the story that survivors would carry back. A human commander addressed the captured fleets through open channels. His voice was calm and steady. We have neutralized your capacity to fight. You are alive because we chose restraint. Resistance will change that choice. The message carried no hatred, only certainty. That certainty crushed hope more effectively than threats. The alien girl felt her chest tighten as she realized how deep the damage would go. Her people measured victory in destruction. Humans measured it in obedience. The survivors would return home not as heroes but as witnesses. Their words would spread fear faster than any invasion. Humans understood psychology better than most species understood weapons. As containment continued, the humans began releasing select ships fully functional and unharmed. The alien girl stared in disbelief as these vessels were guided toward exit routes. The human analyst explained simply, "They will tell the others the survivors were not spared randomly, they were chosen for influence, for reach, for credibility." Humans curated messengers as carefully as soldiers. The alien girl finally understood the full meaning of the phrase, "The bait must be alive." It was not just about luring fleets, it was about releasing fear into the galaxy in controlled doses. She had been the first signal, her people were the proof, others would follow without a single shot fired. She asked quietly what would happen to her now. The human beside her answered without emotion, "You will go home when this is finished." Her heart raced. She was not a prisoner, she was a messenger. Whether she wanted that role or not was irrelevant, humans had decided. As the last containment report came in, the commander turned to her. "You saw what happened, you understand why." It was not a question, it was an expectation. The alien girl nodded slowly because denial had no place left to hide. She looked at the drifting remains of her fleet, alive, broken, and terrified, and felt a deep shame, not for losing but for never seeing this coming. Humans had not hunted them, humans had allowed them to hunt themselves into a trap. The lesson was complete. As the system stabilized and human ships withdrew to silent positions, she knew one truth would follow her forever. Humanity did not need to chase enemies across the stars, they simply waited until the hunters ran out of places to hide. The alien girl was no longer confined to observation rooms. Now she walked freely through quiet corridors of the human facility. No guards followed her closely, and no barriers blocked her path. That freedom was not trust, it was confidence. Humans did not fear her because fear required uncertainty, and humans had already removed uncertainty from the equation. She noticed how the humans spoke to her differently now. Their voices carried no edge, no caution. They spoke as if the war was already over, because for them it was. The battle had ended the moment her people crossed into the system. Everything after that was consequence unfolding as designed. She was brought into a small briefing chamber where a few human leaders waited. No screens, no displays, just people. That alone made the moment heavy. The commander she recognized stood and met her eyes. "You asked earlier why we kept you alive," he said. "Now you deserve the full answer." He explained that humans learned long ago that destruction only creates enemies with nothing left to lose. Fear created restraint, memory created caution. Survivors carried stories that weapons could not erase. Humans did not aim to win every war, they aimed to make the next one unnecessary. That philosophy had shaped every decision she witnessed. The alien girl listened in silence as he continued, "When we kill, we end a problem. When we spare, we change behavior. Your people will hesitate now, they will question orders, they will remember this moment longer than any defeat. That hesitation saves more lives than victory ever could." She felt a strange conflict inside her chest, anger at being used and awe at the precision behind it. Humans did not hide the truth, they never had. They simply trusted that understanding would do the work for them. That trust was more unsettling than threats. The commander explained her role clearly. She had been selected because her survival mattered to her people. Her return would not be dismissed as propaganda or weakness, she would be believed. That was why she had been protected, healed, and preserved from the beginning. She was not bait because she was expendable, she was bait because she was important. She asked if she had a choice. The commander answered honestly, "You always had a choice. You could have refused to speak, refused to observe, refused to understand, but the outcome would not change. The truth would still travel. You are simply its carrier." That answer hurt more than lies ever could. Humans respected choice but did not depend on it. They built plans that succeeded regardless. That realization made her feel small yet oddly relieved. Responsibility had been removed from her shoulders even as purpose was placed upon them. Later she stood alone looking out at the stars, knowing her home waited somewhere beyond the darkness. Human ships prepared to depart, leaving the system empty and quiet. No monuments, no warnings, just absence. That absence would speak louder than any threat. A human officer approached her with final instructions. She would be returned with full medical support and unrestricted movement. She would not be silenced, she would not be followed. Humans trusted the effect of truth more than control. The galaxy would change itself once it heard her story. She realized then that humans did not see themselves as conquerors, they saw themselves as gardeners removing weeds carefully so the field could survive. Fear was a tool, but not the goal. Stability was the goal. Survival for everyone willing to learn was the reward. As departure approached, the alien girl felt the weight of what she carried. She was not a prisoner, not a traitor, not a hero. She was evidence that humans fought wars differently, evidence that mercy could be more dangerous than violence. When the human commander said farewell, his final words echoed in her mind: "We do not keep bait alive to be cruel, we keep it alive because the lesson must return home." And as she stepped toward the ship that would take her back, she knew the galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. The alien girl returned home to a world that felt smaller than she remembered. The stars above her planet looked the same, yet everything beneath them had changed. Her ship entered orbit without challenge, without escort, without warning. That alone caused unrest across command halls and defense stations. Confusion spread faster than fear. Humans had let her go, and no one understood why. When she stepped onto her homeworld, the leaders gathered, expecting a report of suffering or defeat. They expected anger, shame, or trauma. Instead, they saw calm in her posture and certainty in her eyes that unsettled them more than panic ever could. She spoke without drama, without exaggeration. She told them exactly what happened, and that made it impossible to ignore. She described the moment of capture, and the absence of cruelty. She described healing instead of punishment, silence instead of threats. She explained how humans waited, how they observed, how they allowed choices to unfold. She told them the battle had been decided before the first ship crossed into human space, and that silence fell across the chamber. Her people argued at first, calling it deception, claiming humans had manipulated her, yet every question they asked she answered with detail, with clarity, with consistency. She knew their formations, their failures, their panic, because she had seen it from the other side. She had seen how humans turned certainty into weakness. She told them the truth that hurt the most. Humans did not hate them, humans did not even fear them. Humans had studied them, understood them, and planned for them long before the conflict began. That truth cut deeper than loss because it stripped away pride. The leaders demanded to know why humans released survivors, why they allowed ships to return untouched. The alien girl answered with steady voice: "Because humans wanted you to listen, not to fight." She explained that survivors carried fear, not humiliation, memory, not revenge. That memory would spread through fleets, through training halls, through generations. As days passed, reports arrived from other systems confirming the same pattern. Fleets hesitated, commands were questioned, engagements were delayed. Humanity's presence had changed behavior without occupying a single world. The galaxy was adjusting itself around an idea, not a threat. The alien girl realized then that she had become more than a messenger. She was proof that humans could end wars by allowing enemies to see themselves clearly. She felt the weight of that responsibility, but also its strange peace. Humanity had not destroyed her people, they had given them a choice to survive differently. She was asked if humans would return if war resumed. Her answer was simple: they never left, they just stopped needing to be seen. That sentence echoed across councils and command structures, rewriting doctrine, rewriting fear. In the quiet that followed her return, the alien girl finally understood the final lesson: humans did not fight to dominate, they fought to endure. They believed survival was shared or meaningless, and that belief made them more dangerous than any conqueror. As months passed, treaties replaced mobilization, borders stabilized, and silence became the new defense. Humanity had spoken once through action, and the galaxy had listened. The alien girl often looked to the stars, knowing humans were still there, watching, waiting, patient as always, and she understood now the truth behind the question that started everything. Humans did not kill her because killing would have ended the story. Letting her live had changed it forever.